Hi guys, it's Amy and you have found Amy Loves Crochet. Thank you so much for clicking on my video. I really do appreciate your time. Well, this is the tutorial that I spoke about last week. I uploaded a video about a yarn haul where I bought the yarn to make these hot pads. And so now I've got the tutorial to share with you. I hope that you've been waiting for it and want to create these hot pads with me. So get yourself some 100% cotton yarn and a corresponding hook, and let's go right down into the tutorial. So go ahead and get your ring or your circle, chains joined together to make a circle, however you like to work with working in the round. We're going to need to have 15 double crochets in this ring, so whatever method by which you like to do double crochets into a ring, meet me back here when you've got 15 double crochets in this ring. So what I have here is a chain 2 to give me some height, and then 15 double crochets. And I'm going to show you how to do the seamless join. Go ahead and grab your first double crochet that you're going to slip stitch into, and we can pull this guy tight. At any point during the project you can pull this in real tight, tie off your end, and be done with it. I like to close mine super tight. Okay, so with the traditional method of chaining 2 or 3, when you're going to go up into the next row, you end up with this sort of line that goes all the way up. And what I want to show you is how to have no lines. So you can't quite tell. Maybe you can kind of tell a little bit, but it doesn't look nearly as bad as having that chain 3 line. Okay, I have my 15 double crochets in my round, and I've slip stitched to join. So we're going to do a chain 1 and ignore the stitch that you came up out of, and then we're going to skip 1 stitch and we're going to go into this next one. And each of the stitches in this round get 2 double crochets in each. So I know it's going to look funny with this big old gaping hole there in the beginning to start with, but we'll go back and fill in that stitch and you'll see how it looks. So go ahead and put 2 double crochets in each stitch, and I'll meet you back around at the end before we join up. All right, I've got 26 double crochets, and I know that we are still going to jump over to here, to the one that we missed or skipped, and we're going to put 2 in there. So I need 1 more stitch here to put another 2. So I've got 26, 27, 28, 29, and you're working right over those chains, and 30. So at the end of round 2, you should have 30 stitches. It should look like this. This is the first 2 stitches of that round, so we're going to slip stitch right here. All right, and now we're ready to start round 3. So chain up again, and we're always going to ignore what we're coming up out of and skip the next one, and then into this stitch here we are going to put 1 double crochet. This is going to be an increase round, so we're going to do 1 double crochet in one space, and the next one gets 2 double crochets. 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet. So go ahead and finish this round back to the start here, and I'll join you to connect. Oops. All right, I'm at 42 stitches now. I've got the one that we skipped that we've got to go back into. He's going to get 2, and so I've got 1 more that's going to go here. And that will give us 45 stitches for round 3. So put your last 2 in there. It should look like this. This is the first of our round where we did 1 double crochet and then 2 double crochets. So we're going to slip right into that first double crochet of the round. At the end of round 3, you should have 45 stitches. So we're going to do this one more time up into round 4. We're going to end up with 60 stitches. So go ahead and do your chain 1, ignore what you're coming out of, and skip the next one. So in this increase here, in this double crochet, we're going to do 1 double crochet. The next one we're going to do 1 double crochet, and the next one we're going to do 2 double crochets. So finish that pattern all the way around. 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, all the way around, and I will meet you here at the end. 1, 1, and then 2. All right, I'll meet you at the end. All right, we're almost at the end of round 4. I've got 56 stitches. So we've got 2 that we know need to go into this first one that we skipped, and then there are 2 more stitches here. So we're going to go 1 and 1 and then 2. And if any point during this round you missed a stitch, you can just add it back in. So the placement, whether it's a increase or an individual double crochet, doesn't necessarily matter on this round. So go ahead and just make sure you've got all 60 stitches in there. And this is the first part of the round where we did 1, 1, 2. So we're going to slip stitch right into that first stitch of the round. And now our increases are complete. We're going to continue with the seamless activity. So give yourself a chain 1. Ignore what you're coming up out of. Ignore what you're coming up out of and skip the first one. And so in this one, we're going to do a double crochet and another double crochet, and then do a cluster stitch. So you start a double crochet and then stop after you've pulled through 2 loops, and then do another double crochet in that same stitch. Stop after you pull through 2 loops, and then you're going to pull through all 3 at the end, and that's a cluster stitch. So we're going to go double crochet, cluster, cluster. So in the next one, you'll have a cluster, double crochet, stop, second double crochet, stop in the same space, and then yarn over and pull through all of them. And then we're going to go back to double crochet. So go ahead and complete that cycle all the way around, and I will meet you back here before we join. Here we are almost at the end of round 5. We've got 56 stitches. We need to put in 2 more doubles and 2 more clusters. Remember the stitch that we skipped in the beginning, that's going to need a cluster. So we'll go double crochet, double crochet. This one's going to get a cluster. And that first one's going to get a cluster. All right, so this is what we look like now. And again, here is the beginning of the row where we've got our cluster, cluster, double crochet, cluster, cluster. So this first double crochet here is where we're going to slip into. And that will complete round 5. Whoops. So here we are at the end of round 5. You should have 60 stitches. And now we are going to go from doing some doubles and clusters to all clusters. So we're going to join in the same seamless manner. Make sure you've got your chain 1 in there. Ignore what you're coming up out of, and then we skip the first one. So on top of this cluster, we're going to start our first cluster. Whoop. And then every stitch in this round gets a cluster. So you should have 60 clusters when you're done. And if you want to wait and meet me back here at the end, and we can join up together, I'll see you back. So here at the end of round 6, I've got 2 more cluster stitches to put in. One's going to go in that stitch that we skipped from the beginning of the round, right here. And the other one is going to go right here in that left stitch, that one that's left over. So here, he's going to get 1 cluster. little mini clusters. And then that first skipped space gets one. And that will be 60 cluster stitches for this round. You can see here, this is your beginning cluster from the round, and we're going to slip stitch to join. All right, so now we just need to get to round 7, where we're going to do the scalloped edges for the petals, and that's going to be super easy. So for round 7, we're going to start with a chain 1, and then we're going to slip stitch twice. Okay. And in this next cluster is where we are going to begin. Here's where we've slipped into this guy. So we're going to work into this one. And our petal tops are going to consist of a slip stitch, which we've already done, a half double crochet, and a double crochet in the same stitch, a double crochet in between the two clusters, and then in that cluster we'll do a double crochet and a half double crochet, and then we'll go to our slip stitches again, 2 slip stitches. So all the way around you're going to have a pattern of 2 slip stitches, a half double, 3 doubles, another half double, and then back to the slip stitches. So each of these 1 slip stitch to 1 slip stitch is going to consist of the petal top as we do our single crochets down to distinguish what those are. So that's where I'm saying up in here we're going to have a half double, a double that comes down in between, a double, a half, and each side of those get a slip stitch on each petal. So go ahead and continue that all around. You're going to do, let's see, we left off on a slip stitch. Oops, got a fuzzy here. So the next one, after your 2 slip stitches, you're going to go into the next one with a half double crochet, a regular double crochet, and then down in between here, you're going to do a double crochet. And then in the cluster there, we're going to do a double crochet and a half double crochet in the same stitch. And then we're going to slip stitch twice. And that's your pattern for this row. So go ahead and continue. So here we are coming around to the end of the last row here, row 7. And I wanted to kind of show you how these petal toppers kind of line up. So these 2 cluster stitches here are where our petal top is. So here's our half double, 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 and then a half double over here. So here's our first slip stitch that goes on top of this one, and here's our slip stitch that goes on top of this one. So, oops, let me get rid of this guy. So these 2 are the remaining clusters to work into. If you can see here, we have slip stitched here and here. So now I've got this cluster to do and this cluster to do. And that's going to be one of our cycles here of half, double, 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 half, because we've already got our slip stitch here and we started the round with our slip stitch. So from here, we're going to do a half double crochet in this space, in this the top of this cluster. Whoops. And then we're going to do a double crochet in that same space, and then down in between here. Now it's going to look a little bit funny because that's how we do our seamless join. So go ahead and just go down into the center of that and get your double crochet made. And then we're just going to slip stitch to the first of the slip stitches that we had down here. So I take my loop off my hook and I come in from behind, and then I'm going to put the loop back on the hook and pull it through. Oops. And that sort of puts my tie off back behind my work. So if you're looking just at the work, you're not going to see that knot sit up right on top of the work. It's going to be back here hidden behind. So go ahead and tie this off, and then we were going to add our accent color. Oops. We're going to tie on here and come down and then work back up like this and do the single crochets to separate these petal looks. So go ahead and anywhere on your project, get an alternating color or the same color if you want. It doesn't matter. That's up to you. And we're going to tie on anywhere where our slip stitches are. So just pick one of your clusters, maybe not right where we ended up so that it's not too bulky, but anywhere else, go ahead and find your range. We've got half, double, double, double. And if it's easiest for you, start here. See how we took this double and went down in between the clusters? That's an easy place to see. So here we have a double crochet, half. So we know that these two are going to be our slip stitches. This slip stitch accounts for this petal, and this slip stitch accounts for this petal. So we're going to tie on the slip stitch for this petal here. All right? And what I'm going to do is go ahead and tie her on because I don't want it to come loose in the wash. We know that this bad boy is going to get dirty in the kitchen, so when I tie on a different color, I'm going to give it a good tug. Okay, so we are in the slip stitch. You're going to do a chain one, and then all of these stitches are going to get a single crochet. So go ahead and pop a single crochet into that same spot. Now what you want to look at is you're coming down like this. Here are the three that are going to go in this petal. So I'm going to split this one here, and you just kind of turn and get 2 single crochets put in there like this. Okay. So here's our 3, and then the next row is going to have 4. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to split this cluster as well. Oops. Get right into your work in there. So do 2, and I just kind of pinch it and get my single crochets put around the double crochet there. So then you're looking back at your flower again. You've got your 3 because it's really 6. You've got this 4, and now you're going to have these 2. So I'm going to come down and do my 2 single crochets around this post. All right, and then you're going to do a chain 1 and turn your work the other way. So now all you're doing is these are going to be back to back. So when I'm looking at this, I know that this is the next double crochet that I have to put my 2 single crochets around. Whoops. All right. And then here we split that cluster, so we're just going to grab the other side of it to do 2 single crochets for that row. And then you again can see just here, this is where we split that cluster. So this side of the cluster is going to get 2 single crochets as well. So then when you come up from there, remember we've got our slip stitch here, whoops, our slip stitch here that's going to need a single crochet, and then you're going to get 5 single crochets across the top of your petal for the half double, 3 doubles, and then your half double. Oops. So go ahead and get your single crochet there into the slip stitch, and then here's my single crochet on top of the half double, on top of the double, on top of the double, on top of the double, and on top of the half double. Adjust yourself here. We've got a slip stitch still that we need to go in with a single crochet. And then from here it's much easier because you've got this side already mapped out, so it'll be easy to go from here. So again, we're going to count 3 full clusters, 1, 2, 3. So we need to split this guy, and you're going to put 2 single crochets around that post, and then look at your work again. You know, you'll start to get the hang of this without having to lay it down each time. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to split this cluster to put our single crochets around. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So 2 single crochets around that guy. And then in the last one here, we want these 2 to be showing. So we're going to do our single crochets on this one. Oops. So I go 1, 2, and then grab him and do 2 single crochets around there. And then do your chain 1, and you're going to turn and just work right up his back. So you've got the 2 single crochets there. And there shouldn't be any of this blue in between your single crochets. They should go very solid like this. You're going back to back. So you got to make sure you're going to grab the other half of the cluster that you split, because you're going to be off kilter if you get, you know, you can really throw your petals off if you don't get your if you don't get your lines in there right. Get a little more yarn. Okay. So then again, we're up here at the top. You've got to remember that you've got to do a single crochet in your slip stitch first. And then you're going to have 5 across here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Get your slip stitch. You've got a single crochet on that slip stitch, and then you start to come down your work. So here you can see 1, 2, 3 clusters. So you're going to split this cluster, single crochet, times 2. And then in this row, you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're going to split this one with 2 single crochets. And then here at the bottom, we want 2. So we're going to do our single crochets around this one. And that is how you are going to repeat all the way around. You'll do a chain 1, turn it back this way, grab him, and grab him. And that's what we'll do. We'll meet you around here at the end before we finish off. I would like to point out to you, just to let you guys know, because we did that sort of seamless join, there's a little bit of extra bulk of yarn back here on that part of the petal. The rest of these are very easy to slip in and around, but on this you'll reach, you know, depending on where you started, you'll reach this point where we cross over our seamless stuff and there's extra yarn back here. So don't let it confuse you and throw you all off. Just know that rows 4, 5, and 6 each are going to get 2 single crochets. So however you got to grab that guy and put him in there, just do it. You know, it may not be super smooth on this one, but you can do it. Okay, coming up on the end of our project here, we're just going to work over that tail. I've got a couple more single crochets here to do, and then I'll show you one more time how I do that invisible tie off. Oops. So I pull my yarn loop up, and I'm going to go into the stitch. Now we're going to slip stitch to the beginning single crochet that we did just here. Oops, let me get you just here. So what I want to do is go in from behind that stitch, grab my working or my loop, put it back on my hook, and pull it through this way. And then whoops, and then again, this will put our knot on the back of the work as opposed to right up on top of it. And just give it a little tie off. Pull that guide. Pull it real tight here. Here's our finished product. I just have a couple of ends to tie in and we'll be all done. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you play around some different colors of cottons on your own, whether you want the colors to pop separately like these, or get them super matchy-matchy like these. I think it's just a whole lot of fun to play with. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope that you're going to get out there with some different color combinations and create some of your own. They were so much fun to make. Have a wonderfully blessed day, and I hope you'll come back and see me again. Thank you. Bye-bye.